talk on how to bail out the glider safely. There is no way of bailing out the glider safely. It's an uncontrolled situation. This is all balance of probabilities. If you're better prepared, you have a better chance, but I'm not guaranteeing that anything I say is right and will work. But it might give you something to think about. So, my experience, lots of gliding coaching, all over the place. I have met lots of people who have jumped out of aeroplanes. Quite a lot. And it's convinced me that the chances of jumping out of the glider are reasonable. So most of the collisions that, if you haven't been able to about 3,000 feet, you probably won't get out. The reason is it takes too long to get out of the glider, and by the time you get out of the glider, you're too close to the ground. Or you can't get out of the glider at all. If you're above 3,000 feet, you've got more chance. Reitman died after a mid-air collision just above the ridge. He was coaching, got taken out by somebody else. Too late. So, here's something to think about. The performance arousal curve. I think you're probably mostly familiar with this from sports psychology. If you have a mid-air collision, your arousal level will go through the roof and you will not be able to think clearly, or perhaps not even be conscious of what you're doing. Worth bearing in mind, because in this situation you can only really react as you've been taught and trained and rehearsed. It's stuff you know intuitively. You're turning on the ridge, the wind goes down, the glider turns upside down, you bang the stick forward, hit top rudder. You don't have to think about it, right? Okay, so what happened to me? 2 gliders in a thermal, a couple of thousand feet, nasty blue day, here, and here, and here, and then I do this. I'll find very slowly 42 knots in the DG under great fat bird wing. And this guy didn't catch it. He comes here, he's going a bit fast, he pulls up into me. That cracked the fuselage, the glider goes, not very hard, just a little gentle boom, and pitches down into a 30-degree dive, and I open the brakes, I'll talk about that later. Fully open the brakes, pull the stick back, it sort of does this, like that. And he goes into the vertical, and my mind just goes into overdrive. Just bumps straight through into the vertical. What happened? The fuselage cracked, it changed shape, the elevator force acted as like a trim tab to fold the fuselage, and it locked into the vertical, and then went straight down for about 900 feet in the vertical. So, get the canopy off, canopy then strands. So I pull on the canopy handle, nothing happens. At which point, I remember there's an AD out on all the TN out on all the DGs. You have to grease the canopy release mechanism every year. First year I had it, I did it. That year, I'd been doing it in the workshop on my own. I thought, oh, I'll do it later, I haven't got anybody to help me. I hadn't done it. So I pull the canopy release knob, and it doesn't move. So I put the other hand onto the release knob. When you move a hand onto a control, if it's not a 1G environment, you have to watch it go, otherwise you miss the control. So I watched it go, and as my hand comes over the instrument panel, I look past my hand and the ground's doing this. So I put my hand on it, pull with all my strength, and after about 2 seconds of pulling, it goes click, and then the canopy's free. Nothing happens. So it's a DG. So I kick the canopy really hard, at which point I rip this muscle here, because I kick the canopy really hard from a standing start, and it comes off. We're going through about 1,400 feet, 1,300 feet, 1,200 feet, I don't know. We're going down real fast. The canopy goes off the headrest as the canopy pivots upwards like this, because it's attached on the back quite deliberately so it doesn't slide back, so it goes boom. The headrest hits me really hard in the back of the head and puts my lights out. And I'm out for 7 or 8 seconds. So now I'm going down through 1,200 feet, into vertical, glider acceleration, unconscious. The fuselage breaks in half. The glider decelerates rapidly and tumbles into an inverted position and sort of flops along like that for a moment. 7 or 8 seconds after the canopy goes, I wake up, I'm upside down. I know I'm upside down because I'm in the dark. That's the most important thing, because you know when you roll a glider on a blue day, you go in the dark, don't you? I recognise the visual picture. And then I think, oh, I am upside down because my hands are up here, dangling in the slipstream. So I go, twist, nothing happens. Why does nothing happen? Because I'm under 1.5 negative G. My weight is on the straps. I can't release the straps because the buckle's tight. No real tests have been done on this. We don't really know what the loads are in inverted flight for releasing the straps. So I put a thumb on each side of the butterfly. It's one of those double butterfly arms. Is it a gathering? And I go, at which point I'm in mid-air. And I think to myself, God, this is really nice. This is free fall. It's gorgeous. I can see why people do it. And then I think, am I tumbling? Yes, I'm tumbling, completely tumbling, because it's going skyground, skyground, skyground. Should I maybe go? And then I think, don't be a twat, pull the chute. So then the chute's open, and I steer the chute around for a bit, and then I pass out again. And they find me 15 minutes later in the field, unconscious. Bad whiplash, impact vertigo, damaged leg muscle here. The only thing that hasn't gone away is the damaged leg muscle, of course. So I was flying just fine, it was all right. PTSD, yes, but not really in terms of fear, although it took a couple of flights to get over being scared stiff. And the second flight I thought, well, it's going straight down that is frightening, so I just went up in the K-21 and went, yeah, I could do that, okay, fine. But I was very aggressive and difficult to live with for about 2 years when I was trying to get through the situation. Okay, so what I learned from that is that when you have the mid-air, you will go right the way out here, instantly. Now I'd like to talk about the bailout simulator. The Aussie bailout simulator frightened me worse than the mid-air. So you sit in the front of a Blarney with a wire front canopy. So you're sitting here. And you strap in, you've got a parachute, you strap in, and the instructor sits next to you. And he says, okay, so here you go, wing up, rope on, brakes locked, take off, okay, get it on the wheel, okay, lift off, over the hedge, down into low toe, yeah, watch the slipstream, you're bouncing a bit, come to the right, and he talks you through the flight very calm and peaceful, and you turn off toe, you come off toe, and you turn into the thermal, and then suddenly the instructor goes, get out, 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 shouts in your face, get out! Now every time I do this it gives me the wobbles because, you know, panic attack. That's how you raise the adrenaline level. So the result is, when that happens to the student in the bailout simulator, what you see is this. The instructor's screaming at the student. Just let me calm down for a minute. Screaming at the student goes, instead of what you need to do, obviously, is canopy, straps, and look, reach, pull, arch. Now, right now, I'm right here. Partly the memory of doing it, and partly what, if you actually go through this and you do it to somebody yourself, you know, screaming at somebody gets you right up there. So, whenever I do this briefing, it's very difficult to finish it, because it's very difficult to come back down. But this is real, this is how we behave. This is where you will be if you have to jump down. So, this is what you need to know. You have to be able to do this without thinking. Therefore, you have to be prepared and in some way practiced to deal with it. Obviously, canopy first, strap second, not the other way round. You need to know that the canopy will come off your block. If you don't maintain it yourself, you need to make sure it's maintained. But I would suggest you maintain it yourself. Know that it will release. Know that it's going to go. Know what is likely to happen as it goes. Long canopies released at the front have a habit of coming back and hitting the pilot, sliding up like this, or going sideways and smacking the pilot in the face as they go. Nice if you can arrange the canopy to go like that, but I don't guarantee it. The Roger hook is supposed to help. If you have an old DG with a headrest here, take it off, put a roll behind your head instead, because if the canopy does that, it will swipe you really hard. So make sure the canopy can go. Make sure you know how to undo the straps. So if I'm in the back of the ash, it's, if I'm in the label, it's, you have to know your glider. You really have to know your glider. So canopy and straps. Over the side, pull the chute. Pull the chute, look, reach, thumb through the ring. Grasp it, put your other hand on top of it. You do not want to lose the grip on the D-ring. This is a common problem in parachuting. Because you half pull it, you lose your grip on the D-ring, then it's doing, and the ground's coming up, and you're going, look, reach, other hand, pull, arch. That's what I was trying to do by my rigger. Look, reach, pull, arch. Look, reach, pull, arch. And he spent his life parachuting deep diving, not cave diving, mixed gas diving. So he knows what he's doing, he's still alive. So, canopy, straps, open the chute. How much delay between getting out the glider and opening the chute? None whatsoever. Just open the bloody chute, because this is a time-pressured situation. You're unlikely to get tangled up in the glider. That's what I've been told. Now, a couple of situations that you will have heard about. Not being able to get out of the aeroplane. A lot of people, especially middle-aged or elderly people, can't get out of the aeroplane when it's sitting on the airfield. I suggest for everybody a fitness program, because it helps you gliding. Part of your fitness program is tricep dips. If you watch me get out of the glider, I just put my hands on the side of the glider and push myself up. Most of you youngsters, you wouldn't even think about that being a problem. The middle-aged amongst us, it becomes a problem because we're fat and old. So tricep dips. But you will not get yourself out of the cockpit if you've got substantially more than 1G. It isn't happening. Nobody's strong enough to do that. It doesn't work. So here's a little bit about the dynamics. If you lose the back end of the aeroplane, the glider will pitch down hard. Getting out of the cockpit is not a problem because you're under negative G. You might have to work hard to undo the straps, but you're going to go through whatever, you know, you're just going to come out. So that's not a problem. And I would say in a negative G situation, you unlatch the canopy. If it hasn't gone, don't worry. It's going to go with you. You imagine rolling a glider inverted and hoping the canopy will stop you falling out. Imagine suspending a canopy here and finding a way of sitting in it so you don't go through the burst bays. It's not going to keep you in the glider. You might scratch yourself as you go through, but that's another issue, frankly. Who cares? So, release the canopy, release the straps. If the canopy hasn't gone, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'd just try and go straight through it. I think that in a negative G situation. In a positive G situation, how do you get a positive G situation? It's a spiral dive. If you lose roll control, you will get a spiral dive. Because the glider's trimmed to fly at normal flying speeds. It rolls, the nose goes down, it pitches up, but of course it's rolled, so it just does a spiral dive. The G goes up and up and up. You will not get out in that situation. You can't get a spiral dive without a tailplane. Can't happen. You might get some sort of low G iteration, but without a tailplane, the glider will not fly, will not produce lift, because you cannot hold the wing at a positive angle of attack without a tailplane. Centre of pressure pushes the nose of the wing down and you get a negative G situation. So, if you can't get out because the G is too high, undo the straps, undo the canopy and the straps, even if the canopy is there, shove the fucking stick forward. Shove it all the way forward and you'll almost certainly go out. We know this because many people have had big incidents when they've pushed the stick forward by accident. And a guy I knew, what's his name? Picked up a peg from the factory, Pegasus from Centrair, didn't do the straps up, hit a bump, pushed the stick forward, found himself sitting in the air. That's why we have straps in airplanes, because as you move the stick forward, you go up, As you go up, you move the stick forward. You go up, you move the stick forward.
Even if you're in a sprawl?
Yeah, shove the stick hard forward. You'll unload the air. You won't have experience of doing it because, of course, you wouldn't do that without breaking the glider. You know, if you're in a proper spiral dive, 4 or 5 G at 120, 130 knots on the verge of breaking the glider, if you were going to recover from that, well, you wouldn't shove the stick forward, would you? Because you'd break it. So we don't have experience of that corner of the flight number. But what I'm saying is if you can't get out, the chances are that you have elevator power to unload the glider and go out. And if that means going out through the canopy, so be it. Now, this is not safe, this is not predictable, this is not a controlled situation. But if you think about those things, think about that set of dynamics, it might just help. And you'll sometimes see me get out the glider, and I'll get out and put feet in the ground and just go. It's like, you know, look, reach, pull, arch. It's something you should know as instinctively as you know full rudder stick sticks gently forward to stop the spinning.
Just with releasing the parachute, because for a long time I thought I would pull it across my chest. And I think some parachutes were aligned like that. So
in line with the height.
Yeah. So some are down, some are across.
Some unfortunately go up, and I hate flying with one of those because my instinct would be to do it the other way. So I try to make sure all the parachutes I select to use, and normally I fly with my own, but if I'm using another parachute, I'll pick the one with the D-ring that goes in the downwards direction, because that's what I'm used to. Okay, brief presentation, horrifying subject, worth thinking about, because it's one of those things where taking the right action could save your life, could make the difference. Yeah. Oh, yes, okay, sorry, yes, I missed something. First thing you do when you have a mid-air collision is open the air brakes. This might take the wing off. However, the more drag you have, the slower the glider will descend. And time is what you need. So, if I found myself in a sailplane with the nose pointing down, unexpectedly, if I didn't sort of identify, if I drop away, a stall, spin, entry, something like that, obviously I wouldn't open the air brakes. But if there was a bang and I found myself like that, first thing I'd do is whip the air brakes off.
Is that what you did in your accident? Did you do that in your accident?
Yes, absolutely. And that reduced the vertical speed.
To 200.
You know, I don't think it went above about 150. And then when we went around the outside loop, it was doing about 80. Because otherwise I'd have had red eyeballs and it would have damaged the glider. So yes, open the air brakes, that reduces the vertical speed. Yeah, if it takes the wing off, it takes the wing off. You're in a bad situation, so what do you do? That was I think that's pretty important actually.